Welcome to Flawless Shoe Reviews. Today I'm reviewing the highly popular Adidas Boston 13. Now first of all, I'd like to thank T3 Endurance Sports for providing me with these shoes. They do have no say in the editing process, however they have provided a 5% discount code if you decide to pick up these shoes, which I'll link in the description below. Now if we look at the midsole on the shoe, we still have the Lightning Pro midsole, which is 14% more prominent than what we saw in the previous model. And we have a slight change in the stack with 36mm in the rear foot, 30 in the forefoot, giving you a 6mm drop from the back to the front of the shoe. Now, it has the lightning rods that extend a little bit further in the midsole, and that makes the shoe incredibly stiff. So as you can see, it's really hard to bend the shoe, and it's got quite aggressive forefoot rocker with a little bit of toe spring. So those of you who like a racing shoe, who have some hallux rigidus or some hallux limitus, you might enjoy this shoe more than others. However, it's important to take note of the toe box width, which we'll touch on in a moment. But first of all, I want to talk about the performance of the shoe in terms of what you feel underfoot when you're running. It's quite a responsive shoe, a little bit firm underfoot when you initiate contact with the ground. It transitions nicely from the back to the front of the shoe with a nice posterior lateral bevel on the back of the shoe. However, I do feel like they could have a bit more of an aggressive bevel on the back to make a smoother transition, especially for heel strikers. If you're a midfoot striker, shouldn't have any problem at all and should transition nicely to the front. So it's relatively firm, relatively responsive, but I don't think as quick as some other shoes in the market like the Hoka Max 6 or even a slightly cheaper shoe than this, the Adidas Evo SL. However, there are some more benefits to the shoe. I just want to touch on stability of the shoe. So we've got quite a narrow heel in midfoot, and I found when you initiate contact with the ground, it just doesn't provide that amount of stability that you might like if you've got issues around the arch of your foot or your posterior tibial tendon. I found that I worked that quite a lot. So just something to note, it does have some mild sidewalls on the inside and the outside of the shoe to try and provide stability, and it's got a really broad base of support in the forefoot. So definitely for those of you who are a midfoot striker, you should find lots of stability in the forefoot. Those of you who are heel strikers, you might struggle with the transition when you initiate contact and with the reduced amount of midsole underneath your foot. And as we move up the shoe, we've got a new engineered mesh on top. We've got a relatively narrow fit in the toe box, so those of you who have a broader foot, you might struggle with that. It doesn't come in a wide version at the moment, but we saw that in the Boston 12, so it might be to come yet. Then as we move up, we've got a very thin tongue on top that's gusseted with some nice laces. We had no problem with the lockdown, and we've got a relatively flexible heel counter that provides some stiffness, but not significantly for those of you who have issues with sensitivity around the back of the heel. And it's quite light in terms of the amount of padding that we see around the heel cup, but we didn't have any issues with slippage overall. So if you want to use it as a day-to-day lifestyle shoe, not a problem. Just take note it's a little bit unstable around the heel, but those of you who have hallux rigidus, you might benefit from it. So it can be used as a lifestyle shoe. It's relatively light, coming in around 255 grams for a size 9 men's US. In terms of running and performance, yes, it's still your go-to shoe for marathon distance, for some faster up-tempo workouts. But I think one big issue Adidas are going to have with this is I'm not sure it's any better than the Adidas Evo SL, which we have a review of, or its competitors like the Hoka Max 6. So it's another subtle update to the Boston model, some improvements in terms of the stiffness and the feel and the firmness on the foot if you're someone who enjoys that. However, just the transition from the back to the front of the shoe could be a little bit smoother with an increased heel bevel in my opinion. If you've got any questions on them, please drop in the comment section below. As I say, we've got links to the shoes below with some discount using our unique code, which you can use across the whole site on T3 Endurance Sport. Otherwise, if you found the video interesting or helpful, just like and share and subscribing. It does make a massive difference to us, and thank you very much for watching.